Hello. In this video I'm going to show you how to import a text into OCHRE and then add some detailed information to that text. So let's go ahead and enter the OCHRE tutorial project. Okay, so in our list of hierarchies here we're going to be dealing with texts, and there's a sample text hierarchy in here. I've already entered the text item. I've just called it alphabetic sample text. Notice all the different things you can say about the text just right here on this first screen. You can say what type of writing system is employed, and this is important so that OCHRE knows how to handle the various signs that you're going to give to it for importing. Obviously it will handle alphabetic signs different than hieroglyphs and different than logosyllabic writing systems like Sumerian and Akkadian. Alright, so we're dealing with an alphabetic text. And I've told it that we're dealing with a text that's written in Aramaic. I've also given the text a number of aliases, and these are really just aliases that come from the publication. And as you can see, all of the aliases show up here as part of the name in the text hierarchy, so that's helpful. And you also have a field here to enter a description of the text itself. Down here is where we would enter properties for the text. So we might as well go ahead and enter a few of those. So just at the very generic high level, we're going to classify this database item as a text. So now OCHRE knows it's not, say for example, an archaeological locus or a resource or something else like that. I mean, it knows it's a text because it's in this hierarchy here, but we add that property just to make it explicit. And in fact, I can say what genre this text is, and it happens to be a letter. So now we have at least a few properties. So how do we get some actual textual content into OCHRE? Most people are going to come to their project with some text already existing, either in Word or some other document. If you have that, you can just copy and paste it right in here. If not, you can go ahead and do your transcribing and transliterating right in this pending content pane. And this is simply Unicode text, just working right off of the papyrus. You'll notice though that there are some codes in here. You'll notice the @ sign is in here. This is a special character that's going to tell the import that this is actually a compound consisting of two words, in this case the vav followed by a noun. And you'll see there are some prepositions as well. And just the peculiarity of the Aramaic writing system, Aramaic language, requires that we tag some of these as compound words, and that will help later when we do our text analysis and adding these words to the dictionary. We don't want to add this entire string as a single lemma in the dictionary. We'd like to be able to break it up. So to do that, we tell OCHRE it's a compound word. Anyway, everything else here in this pane is simple Unicode text. Okay, so let's just start looking at the import process. Don't get too overwhelmed by all these options here. We do have a lot of options simply because we deal with a lot of different and complex languages. Basically, the options I have selected here are appropriate for Aramaic alphabetic text. So I've said in general to the database, enable some epigraphic unit processing. I think that's going to apply to just about every text. I've asked it to look up script units in the writing system that I have told it that I'm using. I've told it that I'm using a Phoenician-based writing system, which would include Aramaic. And that's sort of another topic we won't go into now, how to set up writing systems. I've asked OCHRE to automatically number each line of text. Since I haven't given it line numbers, OCHRE can do that for me automatically. I've told it to expect section headers in the text. So that refers to recto verso, and then there's one line that's written in inverted format on the verso. So I've made those section headers. I don't need to do any substitutions. I'm not dealing with any X's that need to be unformatted. Those would be mostly for logosyllabic texts. I've asked OCHRE to parse words into individual alphabetic characters. So for me in this case, I would like to atomize my text down to individual letters, and the database will do that for me. I don't need to worry about any numerals. I don't have any uppercases. I'm not using Sumerian determinatives. I don't care too much about logograms or determinatives again, and I've told the database that all of the lowercase regular formatted text that it's going to be receiving can be formatted as Aramaic. Okay, great. So I've made a lot of selections there for options. Let's go ahead and copy the pending transliteration over into my pane here, and I could do some final editing if I happen to notice a mistake. I could type it in here if I needed to. But just glancing over this, I think everything is fine. So what I'm going to do is click this Process Textual Content bar, which is just going to go through a process of giving me a preview of what the text would look like once it's imported. And so OCHRE takes a second to consider what I've given it, and consider all the options, and then it's going to give me a preview of this is what the text would look like when it is inserted over here as a database item. It's not done yet. It's just giving me a preview. So it gives me a chance to make sure that it understood the section headings correctly, the line numbers correctly, and then here's what I was talking about before. All of the letters are broken down and atomized into individual database items, and I have a chance to make sure that it understood all my words correctly. And here's an example of one of the compounds. So it understood the ampersand or the @ sign correctly as well. And I've also found it helpful to just view the entire text in a composed format, just to see, in a very simple visual way, did I give it the right information so it would be able to import the text properly? And here everything looks fine to me. So I'm going to just be so bold as to say accept this result and go ahead and post this to the database, and it gives me just one more warning saying we're leaving the world of previews here and we're going to actually post this to the database. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes, I do. So now OCHRE is taking all of the pending content I gave it and it's creating database items for every single letter, and it's composing those in sections, lines, and then also as discourse units in words. So that you can see my cursor blinking there, it's doing that all behind the scenes for me. So it's this process of taking essentially a page format of a text and breaking it into data that's usable as a database item. And that's really the difference in OCHRE's approach. We're not treating text as just word processing documents. We really treat it as data, and to do so it requires breaking it down, atomizing it into small, minimal, meaningful parts that you can then work with later. Okay, and our text has posted to the database. I just did a quick refresh to go and make sure I had the most recent information from the database. And we're back here at our information pane. Let's just go ahead and view the text and see if it turned out the way we really wanted it to. Sure enough, there it is. This is no longer a preview. This is the text. Here is the information matching exactly as was presented to us in the preview. So now you could go through and do any number of various types of text analysis, and those are subject for other videos that are available for you to view as well. But what I would like to show you how to do is add an image to this text. So you could add a photo of the papyrus, and in fact that's what we're going to do. So all of your images reside in the resources hierarchy, and we have a number of sample resources in here already, but I'm going to add a new one. So I'm going to insert below, add an external resource. All the resources that we use exist on external servers. None of the resources live in the database itself. The database just points to those images on external servers. So I'm going to tell OCHRE that the type of resource we're creating is an image, and we're going to just call this something very simple. There we go. And this is the name of the file on the server. It's a JPEG image. And I've configured OCHRE to look at my specific server space, so I don't have to type in the server every time. I just have to type in the name of the file, and then OCHRE is going to just append the server address to the beginning of that file and then go out and look at the server for both a thumbnail version and then the full version of the image. So let's just go ahead and make sure that loads. It does. There's the thumbnail, and if I were to click this small button here, I would retrieve the high resolution version of this image and replacing it in the view. Okay, great. So we have our resource added. And now, because I'm going to want to link this to the text, I'm just going to go ahead and click this little arrow button over here to navigate to that image in my linked items pane, because I can already foresee that I'm going to need that in the future. So coming back now to my text, here we are again, this is that simple letter. And we add images on the links tab. It's also where we would add periods, so historical periods. I could say this belongs to the late 6th, early 5th century, and link in those periods here. But that's, again, for another video. For now, I like to just link in this image. So I'm going to use the paperclip plus item to link the item that I have selected over here. Now that resource, same one as right here, is linked to this text. So if I were to view the text, go ahead and close that pane. I'm going to refresh that, get a nice fresh copy. There we see this is the list of links over here. We can toggle that on and off. And over time, perhaps you would have dozens or hundreds of images to link to your text, and they would all show here. And I can ask it, go ahead and show the thumbnail. So now while I'm here viewing my text, I can see my image side by side. So that's the basic rundown of how you would add a text to OCHRE and then a link and image to that text. I hope that was helpful. Thanks.